formal introduction and welcome. Again, my name is Alice Jansen. I'm the Education Director with the Texas Children in Nature Network, and we're excited to have you all today for our webinar, which is called Delve into the Texas Children in Nature Network LEAP Backpack Program. So the full name for the acronym LEAP is Library Explorer Adventure Pack Program. And our presenter today is Texas Children in Nature Network's own Marisa Oliva, and she's our Health and Nature Liaison working in the Rio Grande Valley. So we're happy to have Marisa here. I would also like to go ahead and introduce Melissa Mullins with Baylor University. She's helping us with our tech support, and she will also be taking attendance. Melissa is also one of our wonderful board members, and she's been helping us so much this year with our summit, which is happening in her hometown there in Waco. So thanks, Melissa. We do have automated closed captioning available for this webinar. So you can click on the Show Captions CC button on the Zoom toolbar for the live transcript options. We are recording our session today, so we ask that everyone turn off their cameras and mute themselves during the presentation to be able to save bandwidth for the recording. I will be monitoring the chat, so you can share your questions there, and I will share them with our presenter, Marisa, during the Q&A portion of the presentation that'll occur kind of after the presentation toward the end of our time together, but you're welcome to put the questions in the chat throughout the presentation, and we'll get to those. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Oh, yes, I also would like to put in my friendly reminder here to use the chat box for good and to be kind to each other while posting your questions and comments in the chat. I will be sharing the recording link of today's webinar in a follow-up email. So if you are uncomfortable with your name showing, you can change your name to anonymous and then private message Melissa with your name for our attendance. And you can also change your name by hovering over your name, and then you just click the three dots that appear when you hover over your name. That's one way to change your name for Zoom. Also, so many instructions. Also, if your Zoom name doesn't match the name you registered with, please change your name or private Melissa with your name. And so this is important. So listen carefully. Only registrants that attend the live webinar are eligible to receive a certificate of completion. We do not automatically send all attendees a certificate, and you must request a certificate after attending the live webinar. The email you received with the webinar Zoom link has the specific instructions for requesting the certificate. Attendance is taken during the live webinar, and we will check our attendance list to confirm your participation. We need the name you registered with to issue the certificate. So if there's any questions about that, you're welcome to direct message Melissa or I. Now I'm going to go ahead and read our land acknowledgement. Texas Children in Nature Network is headquartered in Austin, and as such, I am on the ancestral and unceded land of the Tonkawa, Comanche, and Sana people. Our ongoing colonial presence on indigenous lands compels us to take action now to counteract the effects of colonization. The work we do through the Texas Children in Nature Network is just one small step towards that effort. And here in a moment, I will put some information in the chat to learn more about land acknowledgements and these indigenous peoples groups. So again, thank you all for being here. We have a very special webinar planned, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Marisa to start her presentation. Thanks, Marisa.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm honored to present to you. Before we start, actually, I really do like to know, I saw lots of people. I saw some people from the Valley. I see some people I know. But I'd love to know if, one, and you guys could raise your hands on this, how many of you have heard of the LEAP, Library Explorer Adventure Pack program already? Or if not LEAP, other library nature programs around the country? One. Okay. All right, so a lot of you, this is a new program. And then are there any people who are on this webinar who are interested in learning how to develop a LEAP program for their own libraries or communities? And Anne-Marie Reed from Travis, Austin, Talit S. Okay, all right. And for those of you who want to learn more, that's great too. Maybe after this, you'll be interested. So my name is Marisa Oliva. I'm with the Rio Grande Valley region for the Texas Children Nature Network. I am a health and nature liaison for TCiNN. There are actually three of us. I have counterparts both in Dallas and Houston. And this LEAP program that we're going to delve in today is part of Nature Smart Library initiatives. And these are initiatives that are going around the country. None of the ideas I'm sharing with you are new, but they are new to our region. They haven't been done before. And they're also, in some instances, not something that's been done in our state. And so Texas Children Nature Network, we've developed this project, and we have it here in the Rio Grande Valley. We've had it for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And then we are expanding it into the Dallas and Houston areas. I know that Sarah is in contact with other networks around the state who are interested as well. So I'm going to go through it now. If you're interested in developing your own program, this may not get you all the full details, but one of the things that I'm going to be working with is sort of like a how-to guide, as long as sharing the resources that we've developed and making that more a little bit neater, because it's pretty messy, a little neater and more accessible if this is something that you're interested in for your own region. And then I'm also going to talk about not only the LEAP program, which is a Library Explorer Adventure Pack program, but also some of the other initiatives that we are started or delving into down here, or maybe something you guys have or are interested in developing for your areas. And you can also find this information on the Texas Children Nature website, and that's down there. Okay, so just a little bit about Nature Smart Libraries. It is a strategy to help our public libraries become venues and venues for our children to access nature. They can do it in a variety of ways, and there's a variety of programs to do that, but it is a great way of connecting to our local youth, especially in communities like ours. If you're not familiar, South Texas, we are the Lower Rio Grande Valley is 4 counties. We have some of the poorest counties. We have a lot of students who are living in poverty. And so our libraries are really a wonderful resource for our communities, for those who, to have access to computers, to have access to programming that's free, to have access to, of course, books, and a lot of other things that the libraries are interested in. And down here, our libraries, some of them have outdoor spaces. And so they are interested in not only bringing nature into the libraries by some of the programming they do, but they're also interested in developing the spaces around their libraries, as well as connecting to our nature and natural resource partners around the valley. And I apologize for my voice. I have a little bit of strep throat that I'm getting over, so I'll be drinking water in between. So as far as wait, sorry, let me click on this. I don't know how to, all right, there we go. So as far as who gets engaged, again, a lot of times it's library partners, patrons, and also park visitors and other visitors. One of the things about this LEAP program is that when we launched it, not only did we have the library patrons participate, but the library also received new patrons because people were interested in using these packs, and so they actually signed up for library cards. So it goes both ways. And of course, we're looking at families and children and youth. The packs that we have are not specifically for youth, and we'll go through that, but they're actually a family pack. They're meant for really anybody who's started to read, so elementary all the way up until adult. And the key benefits is that, again, you're reaching low-income families who may not have these resources or even know about these resources in the community. You're maximizing your local library facilities and resources, and again, introducing new audiences to those resources. And you're also creating these wonderful collaborative partnerships. Beyond what we've done, one of the big things with our regional collaboratives is we're introducing new partners to each other, and they're going off and doing their own partnerships, and that's been fantastic. It also increases regular access for nature and for children, and that's something all of us are very much interested in. We all want to see our kids get off the screens, off the couches, out of the classroom, and into nature for all sorts of reasons, especially their physical, their mental, and emotional development. And so this is a great way, a great tool, these Nature Smart Library connections, of helping to connect kids with those resources and helping them explore nature, having a better understanding and more comfortability with it as well as new skill sets. Strengthening stewardship, and again, the expansion of libraries, and then cultivating green spaces outdoors around the library in adjacent parks and gardens. And again, we're seeing some of that movement as well. So Nature Smart Libraries is, again, not a new initiative. This is something that's happening around the country. If you are interested in learning more, the Children in Nature Network actually has a primer which we'll go over, as well as a lot of articles and resources of programs that are going around the country. So there's some great ideas to pull from to bring into our own communities. But again, the Nature Smart Library Initiative, it's nature-based programs and library park partnerships, creating natural spaces and libraries and activating them within their community as these great nature connectors. And again, a big part of these Nature Smart Library initiatives is the partnerships. So if you're interested in doing something like this, one of the big problems we have here in the Valley, and I'm sure it's all around the state, is that we tend to work in silos. And so these nature library partnerships really work best when we're making connections to our refuges, to our state parks, to our local parks, to our Parks and Rec programs, to our nature centers, where we can cross collaborate and help all of our each other reach our goals. Correct. So we want to make sure in our nature center areas, we want to make sure we reach as many people as possible, and the libraries have the people. And so bringing those together with the programming works fabulous. And so leveraging partnerships is really important as part of this. And again, we're promoting healthy activity. Our particular program, LEAP, was actually, and we'll go through this, funded by Driscoll Health Plan, and their initiative is to keep children healthy, as well as our initiative. And so this is a great way of promoting getting our families outside and into nature. And LEAP is just one way. So this is what you'll find on the city's Connecting Children to Nature website. Again, this is a movement around the U.S. And this is a template of different activities that you can do, who they'll reach, who you can get involved. So again, if you're looking for families in nature, connecting with families in nature, the backpacks, these nature lending backpacks, are a great resource to have. You can also create nature book nooks, where you actually have a dedicated section and you actually can decorate it within the libraries, and our libraries do that wonderfully down here. But to promote the books that are focused on nature and getting the kids outdoors. And then another initiative that we're trying to start up here as well, and I know in Austin there's some, and around the country, but we don't have them here yet, is a seed library. And so that's one of the other initiatives that we're looking into, and we'll talk more about that, but that's basically where people can come and borrow seeds. And there's a great example in Puma, Arizona, in Puma County. And so again, the seed libraries exist almost everywhere in the US. There's over 500 sites. Again, I know Austin has one. I think Houston has one. We don't have that in the Valley, and that's something that we're looking into. If you're looking for infrastructure, again, for families and children, but you're looking more for infrastructure, there's family nature clubs, and of course activities. One of the things that we're looking for is we're a big birding area. We have 9 world birding centers. We have a lot of programmings. We have a wonderful festival all around birds and birdings, and our families more and more are interested in birds and birding. It's one of our most popular backpacks. And so one of the things that we're looking into is developing a birding club that'll be hosted out of the library. And so if that's another initiative that you can do with the libraries, and again, connect the resources with the local experts, the master naturalists, etc. Utilizing your parks and green spaces. Sometimes it's developing the surrounding areas around a library. Sometimes it's taking library programs into the local parks. And San Antonio has a great program where they actually have a mobile cart and they go into the parks. I believe out in California, they also have these mobile library carts. A lot of great ideas that are out there. And so whatever works best for your community, there's already a ton of ideas that will help bring libraries into nature. And then of course, infrastructure, right? Creating outdoor reading nooks, pollinator gardens, edible gardens, all of that around the library spaces. And then the other aspect, which we're just delving into here, but for those communities that are already there, developing youth leadership around these libraries. Salt Lake City, I believe, has a wonderful youth core that they're using, where they are invested into creating library programs for youth, and they have and also environmental programs. And so they have a youth leadership corps. So the libraries can become that place where you can train the youth. You can provide mentorship opportunities, internship opportunities based out of the library, but in connection with the natural resources of the community. So there is a great framework. And again, there's a lot of different examples out there. I'm going to go over a few in more depth, but I encourage you, if this is something that you're interested in connecting with your library and in connecting the library with nature and the natural resources, there's a lot of great examples on how to do that with partnerships. So this program, the Library Explorer Adventure Program, again, not new. There's a ton of examples of it out there, but it was a new concept for us. How this actually started for us is when I got hired for this position, one of the first things we did was we went up to a conference and we heard from Salt Lake City, who was actually actively engaged in developing this Library Explorer Adventure Pack. And for those of you who have never met before, I used to run a nature center here in the Rio Grande Valley called the Edinburgh Scenic Wetlands and World Birding Center. And we actually had a nature backpack that we had only one theme, but we had a nature backpack that we would lend out to families who would come to visit our site so they could explore the grounds on their own. It had binoculars, it had books, it had field guides. So I had a familiarity with the backpack, but it was a backpack that was meant to stay on our site. And we patterned ours off of the state park program. If you've been to a state park, you know that you can borrow a backpack at the state park and again, utilize it while you're there, turn it in, and you get a little patch, a little stamp. And so that's the junior ranger backpack that the state parks have. The difference is with the library backpack program, they actually borrow the backpack as if it were a book, and they actually check it out for however long the policy is. So down here in the valley, and most libraries, I think it's about 2 weeks. So they can take it home, they can visit, you take it wherever, right? They can go out of state, they can go visit a park. And so that's the biggest difference, is that they actually take the pack with them and then turn it in. And the other difference is that with the state park and our own nature center, I believe, I'm trying to think, I think we may have had multiple themes, or one big theme. But in this program, we have multiple themes. And so, and we'll go through that as well, but there's different themes for the different areas that people would like to explore in nature. And so that's one of the biggest ones. But when I heard this idea, I thought, man, that is low hanging fruit. We can totally do that. We already have examples of it. And so when I came back, I just basically contacted every library and I asked every library, hey, would you be interested in doing something like this? Would you be interested in developing it? And those that said yes, I had a meeting, a presentation that I held with them about what Nature Smart libraries were. And then we just, every month we met and we developed different facets of the library program. It took us almost a year, probably about 9 months. And then at one of our regional meetings, I presented it as an initiative that we were looking into. And we happened to have this wonderful man called Alfred Molina from Driscoll Health Plan. And he was like, hey, I'd love to fund this program. And so that's kind of how it was born. It was probably the easiest fundraising I've ever done in my life. Even still today, nothing's been as easy, but it worked out really great. And so we were able to fund, at the time, I think we had 8 sites. And so we had a school district that wanted to participate, as well as other library sites. And we developed this program, and we're able to fund the initial backpacks. And so I believe it was 43 backpacks at a time. But that's how it started. It was started with an idea that seemed pretty, easy, and just reaching out to people saying who's interested. And then we developed it from there together. I just want to show this. This is the backpacks in use at one of our local state parks at Rio Grande. This is a family that's using them. Oops, sorry, and I gotta skip to the next one. All right, so what is LEAP? LEAP, it's a Library Explorer Adventure Pack is exactly what it is. These are adventure packs at our library that are meant to be taken out into the wild. They are loaner nature backpacks located at our local libraries. And right now, they're already, we have them installed in libraries across the Rio Grande Valley in 2 counties, in Cameron and Hidalgo County. But we also are in development for Houston and Dallas. And so I'm not really sure when those launch dates, but I believe they're going to be before the end of the year, or definitely before spring, that they'll be distributed out. When we developed the themes down here, I started with 10 different themes, but then we added one more English theme. And because of our audience down here, we developed 2 more Spanish language packs. That was a lot more difficult than I expected, and we'll go into a little bit of that. But we do now have 2 different types of Spanish themed packs. And then we also developed seasonal nature and health programs that were offered with Department of Health, Driscoll Health Plan, TCiNN, and our local partners. So we had these over the summer. We actually had programs, and it was a way for us to help promote the backpacks as well as promote the activities related to the backpacks. And then Driscoll, of course, they came in and they had presentations on health and safety for our youth. So things like, importance of protecting your skin, importance of drinking water, importance of staying safe outdoors. And again, in the Valley, the backpacks are funded by the Driscoll Health Plan. In Dallas and Houston, they're actually funded by the Department of State Health. And this that you're seeing, these clear plastic backpacks, that was our first iteration of backpacks. These are actually Driscoll Health Plan does a huge, they give out backpacks to children at the beginning of the school year and with supplies. And so they had these backpacks, so they gave them to us. But unfortunately, we discovered they just weren't strong enough. And so we did have to replace them, and we purchased new backpacks that were not clear, although I really did love the clear ones. They aren't clear, but they're fabric, and they have a drawstring, so you don't have problems with zippers breaking. We were finding some of that with some of the backpacks we tried. And they are taller, so they can hold the gear a little better. So finding the right backpack for all the supplies is important. So this is the original one, but I did really like clear. It's not as comfortable to wear for the patrons, but it's a lot easier for people to see what's inside of them. So again, the backpacks, they are in 2 counties throughout Cameron and Hidalgo County. I think we have 3 library sites now in Cameron County, and all the rest. So that'll be 9 sites are here in Hidalgo County. The furthest west right now we have is Palmview and Mission. And then we have them all the way to Port Isabel and Laguna Vista on the island. And then we have we've just gotten to one of our big cities. McAllen just added them into some of their satellite sites. Edinburgh and Far here, which are pretty big towns, have them. Harlingen and Brownsville, also really big towns, have them, as well as some of our smaller cities. And they're being well used, which makes me very happy. Another video, this was one of when we had the initial launches. This was actually the school district that we did the launches, and so we had a big day where we invited lots of different exhibitors out to showcase again the different themes, their resources, and also promote the backpacks.
Today we are launching our LEAP backpacks. It's a Library Explorer Adventure Pack here at PSJA. We have 6 backpacks that are going to be spread through 3 elementary schools in the district.
Well, these backpacks have different themes. For example, they have the stargazing, and everything in the backpack deals with maybe something that they can look up in the sky and at night look at the stars, and then maybe write about what they saw and how they can describe what the stars look like at night. They also have a fishing one where they have an actual fishing pole and little fishies that are make-believe, and they also have the bird watching, and they just have a different array of topics.
And you'll take it home, put it by a window, water it once a day.
So we're looked at as a pilot program. It's definitely first in the Valley, and we believe it's first in the state to loan it out the way we're doing it as a 2-week rental period as part of our library system.
What this program is, it gets kids outdoors. So most importantly, it decreases their behavioral health, mental health, and increases their physical health. Today we have kids out here at PSJ, ISD. We're introducing the backpacks to them, telling them that it's available at their locations, and most importantly, we just want them to get outdoors.
Along with our LEAP launch, we also asked our partners if they would like to join us and have activities for the kids as well as share information about themselves. One of the things about the LEAP backpacks that we're really excited about is that Texas Parks and Wildlife is giving every family who comes with a backpack in the park during that rental period free entry for 2 adults or 2 people 13 and older, plus all kids 12 and under are free. And so we're really excited because that'll help our families get outside. And this year's really important. It's our 100-year anniversary of our state park, so we really want to get our families out. And that's for our 3 local state parks here in Hidalgo and Cameron County.
We're all about educating kids, and we deal with every topic that there is in educating our students. This is just another little project that we really are anxious and really want to push out there.
Get outdoors, get active, and most importantly, a healthy child is a happy child.
So that was PSJ was a school. Now, the unfortunate, I mean, we're pilot program, lots of lessons learned, and that's one of the things that we'll discuss later. But our school district is no longer part of it. The librarian that you saw, she transferred to a different position, and the new librarian, she just couldn't figure out how to make the program work, and so they pulled out, which is fine. Again, this is what we're learning, and really. The backpacks were designed as family backpacks, and really, I think a classroom pack would probably work better, but that's just not what we had. So that's something to keep in mind. The 10, let's go over the themes. So the themes that we have, and you heard in the video, some of them mentioned, 4 down here, again, birding is big, wildlife viewing is big. So we have a South Texas Wildlife Tracks and Scat pack. We have a birds and bird watching pack, a butterfly and insect pack, a fish and fishing pack. Fishing is also really big in the area. Beach combing, coastal critters. We've got South Padre Island, stargazing and night critters. We have some state parks that do wonderful night tours. I don't know if you know, I think if you have a brown recluse, a scorpion, brown scorpion, you can make them glow in the dark. So that backpack has UV lights to look for scorpions. Native plants and botany, rocks and fossils, gardening for wildlife and people. That one did split, and I'll talk about that. And then outdoor skills. So the gardening for wildlife and people, the original pack was actually gardening and cooking gardening and cooking or cooking from your garden. But that I had bought both kitchen utensils to help kids learn how to cook with little recipe books. And I had purchased gardening tools. And when I was putting together, I did not want to mix dirt with things that you would be cooking in the kitchen. So eventually that split into 2 packs. So one is mostly focused on gardening. There are some recipes though, as they get plants that produce fruit. But then there's another one that's more specifically about cooking the plants that you grew from the garden. And that one has the kitchen utensils. And again, after launching the backpacks and just getting familiar with the libraries and the library patrons, a lot of the patrons, the people who borrowing the backpacks were Spanish-speaking parents. The kids often spoke a mix of English and Spanish, but the parents were mostly Spanish-speaking. And so it took a while. I won't say it was complete success. The gardening backpack, that one was pretty easy to put together. There are plenty of Spanish language resources for gardening. And actually some of our local resources that AgriLife produced are both in English and Spanish. The wildlife and the RGV one, that one was tough. And this is a fault of our nature centers. We have not done a good job of producing wildlife guides, birding guides, anything in Spanish with the local language used in this region. You can find things in Spanish for way farther south or in other countries, but you just can't find it for South Texas, and even Texas was hard. So that one just needs a lot of work and development. I did find some resources, but it just was nowhere near the level of the other backpacks, just because it just doesn't exist and it has to be created. And that's a little bit beyond my capacity right now. And so that's just something of note. But the gardening one, if you're ready to do a gardening in Spanish, there's plenty of resources for that. What's included? So in the backpack themselves, you'll have field guides. Again, this is a backpack that is for a family. So it has field guides that are directed towards the younger children and field guides that a teen or adult can use. It has activity books. Usually the activity books were more for the children, but there was definitely information or books that were geared for adults. Like, for example, the one on wildlife skills, there was a compass book. There was a compass book for kids and a compass book for adults, and how to read a compass and do geocaching, etc. Every backpack had a nature journal. Now, the one thing about the backpacks to make them resource friendly and not expensive is that if you see the little green book there, that is the nature journal. That is meant to be turned back in. So nothing in the backpack is meant for families to keep. It's meant to use for the 2 weeks they have it, but then return everything. And so that backpack, that journal, becomes a place where we can use an evaluation tool to see how people are using the activities, because it encourages kids to write their experiences out. There's no specific STEM lessons or any kind of lessons. It's really just resources for the families to use as they want. There's no expectation other than we want them to fill out a form about how they use the backpack, and also, for the kids to use a nature journal to kind of, describe their experiences. And so that does come back, and we get to see some of the scribbles and things that the kids have done. All backpacks come with tools. That was very important for them to have tools to use, and tools and equipment. The birding backpack had the least amount. It only had a pair of binoculars, because that's really what you need. Some of the other backpacks had a ton of tools, like the outdoor exploration, the outdoor skills have like knot tying books and strings and flashlights and just all sorts of fun stuff. The beach combing one, you can kind of see it in the corner. It had a seine that the kids could use, and also other beach combing tools. The fishing backpack has an actual fishing pole, a retractable pole with the fishing kit. And also, if you're familiar with backyard bass, it also had the backyard bass fish. So, and the kit included where you could use the backyard bass. So, and then you can kind of see there's a picture of the gardening kit in there with some shovels, but you can see it actually has a little gardening bag with the collapsible bucket and a little watering spray bottle, garden gloves, etc. So the tools was an important part of it. There's also a survey we asked parents to do. Unfortunately, even though we've had incentives, that's the part that we're struggling with, is getting parents to answer the survey. So the valuation, that's an area that we still need to work on. And then each backpack has a notebook. You can kind of see it on the left here where it says rocks and fossils. So in that, it's a folder with lots of pockets, and it has regional information as well as just information on the backpack, where the other libraries are, and activities specific to that themed backpack.
It's gardening and cooking with plants. And what I like is that you can go through the different activities. There's some books in here with different activities. We have seeds, and it tells them how to plant, how to sow the soil, and how to spray the plants. And it also has the journal that they can record. This journal stays in here, and the next people that come and check it out, they'll do their writings on what they like and what they dislike about the backpack. We have a particular family, I think that she's taken 2 or 3, and she started off with the stars and gazing. She loved it because she's got 4 kids, and she used them with a forum in the evening to look at the stars and the moon and the different galaxies. They have a brochure. There's different brochures of the different, like the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, and it shows them the different things that they can look up, not only the moon or the sun, but the stars and other activities that happen at night. The kids loved it, and they've actually come and get some more. I hope we continue, because we do have several families that check out the backpacks, and now that my granddaughter is interested, I hope the LEAP program continues, not just with the ones that we have right now, but maybe additions to it. And it's very educational, informative, and the good thing I like it is hands-on for the kids. It's very interesting. I had never been here. I had been when I was little, but it was through a totally different experience. But now that that I know the trails and what we can find, the different birds, the different plants. I'd like to come back when it's cooler and enjoy it with my granddaughter and maybe some of my friends.
We did that in the summer in June, so it was a little hot. So as far as the program, what includes, and I didn't mention this before, but one of the big draws to the backpack is that we fortunately have a great relationship with our 3 state parks down here, and the state park side, especially our superintendent of Estado Llano Grande State Park, he actually worked and with the state parks to create a pass, and then he basically he's created a program so that the backpack is the pass. So if the families go in with the backpack, they get free entry to 2 adults, and then, as you know, kids 12 and under are free. So that means a lot of families can take the backpack out and they can go into the state park for free. And so we really appreciate that. So it's and the state parks have now adopted it. I don't know how it will be forever, but as of now, any library that has a LEAP pack in that county. So for example, if Mercedes Library and McAllen and Edinburgh, they all are in Hidalgo County. So any state park within Hidalgo County will accept that as a free admission. So it doesn't work for all state parks. It just works for the state parks where those LEAP backpacks are located in. Right now, that's Cameron, Hidalgo, and eventually it'll be like Tarrant County and some of those other counties up in Dallas and in the Houston area. So again, the backpack is a pass. Again, 2 free entries for adults, or a person 12 or 13 and up. And then the pass, and again, I mentioned that it's available to those in the same counties. We also find that even though it's explained to them, like one of the things when they check out the backpack, the librarians go through the whole process and they talk about what's available. And even though there's like information within the backpack, and when we do outreach, we talk about it, that this is a pass for the state parks. A lot of times they'll go to our local nature centers and say, hey, can we get in free? And some of our local nature center partners have let them. Now, when I've asked them if they want to officially be part of it, I haven't got a response back, but they are allowing them to go in with the backpacks. So it's kind of an informal policy for some of our nature centers, which we greatly appreciate. And that the superintendent down here is Javier de Leon. If anybody has a relationship with the state park and they want to know how to do it, I encourage you to call Javier. He can explain the whole process, and he helped our other state parks do the same waiver. It was a state park waiver. The other thing is Javier is the one who named our backpack, so I always go to him for names of things. I'm gonna skip this video just for time, but this is just somebody showing they actually borrowed the backpack and they made a little cute video on them using it. Procedures. So the backpacks are available, as I mentioned before, for a 2-week loan period. They use their library card. They run them just like a book. It is 1 pack per family. That's all that's allowed, and they must be returned to the same library. If the libraries, for example, McAllen or Brownsville, have multiple library locations, they can and do switch them out among libraries. So if a library patron in one library wants it, they'll move it, but they don't switch between cities. And that's different because we actually have an interloan library system within Hidalgo where you can rent a book in Mercedes from McAllen and they'll ship it, but we just don't do the backpacks that way. And the other thing is that the libraries, when they get the backpack, they make sure they go through it with the patrons, and then when they get it back, they make sure that everything is received, it's clean, and if it's not clean or there's something missing, they'll contact the families. The libraries can, and they can charge for missing items and missing backpacks. However, I find that they don't really have a lot of teeth. It does seem that if items go missing, the patrons are usually pretty good about bringing it back. We've had a couple of instances, and that's the heartbreaking part, of backpacks, whole backpacks that have been checked out and weren't returned. And that one's just been harder to figure out because there are protections that keep us from being able to identify those families. The libraries don't even keep those records. So it's hard to chase down. They do send letters to the family. They do make phone calls, but if the family doesn't come in, there's no they're very uncomfortable with like calling law enforcement or anything like that because they're not trying to create bad will. So that's just something that has to be realized and worked with. This was done a while back. I need to update as far as how many backpacks, but this kind of shows you which backpacks are the most popular. I believe that as backpacks have gone on through the summer, that stargazing night critters has become as popular birds and birding. But for sure, when birds and birding is one of the leaders, which shows that all the work of all these different nature centers and programs that we've had has really impacted our community, which being part of this community for 20 years makes me very, very happy and very proud. And then you can see how the other backpacks were used. I'm actually, one of my favorite backpacks is outdoor skill building. So I'm a little disappointed it hasn't caught on popularity. I think we're going to do more programs around that because there's just a lot of fun outdoor skill building activities in that backpack.
The most is that it gives me and my daughter and I an opportunity to kind of come together and explore things and learn new things. It gives us a chance to kind of come together and bond and have that father-daughter time out in the open, out in nature. There's a lot of activities in there for everybody, really. I mean, it's not really kind of targeted only for children. There's a lot of stuff in it that the adults can enjoy, and I think that's what I like the most about it, is it's made for kind of everyone. So the different activities that are in the bag definitely have to be one of my favorite things about it. Oh, yes. We actually looked at the different lead packs that they have available, and we've already kind of started pinpointing which different ones we want. I think the next one she wants to do involves, I think, seashells, I believe. So that's the one that we had seen. She wants to check that one out, and we'll probably hit up the island with it and kind of have that kind of fun with it. The most is that it gives me and my daughter and I an opportunity.
So again, I had mentioned that Driscoll Health Plan is our partner that funded this. They're nonprofit here in our community. They operate in South Texas, and they're actually building a hospital. So they've been trying to build a lot of goodwill around the community, and also just enroll more families. And they have this mission of keeping kids healthy. And so we've their mission is devoted to the expert care, education, outreach, and advocacy. And they actually have Alfred, who is the community outreach person, and he has a vested interest in getting kids outdoors. He loves fishing. He loves being outdoors. And so this really, he was just the right person, the right time at the right meeting. And he really helped us fund this whole program down here. And the Driscoll Health Plan not only funded the initial 43 backpacks, they funded the second tier. So we're up to 60 backpacks, about 60 backpacks here in our community now. This is if you're in any of these counties, Driscoll operates in all these counties. They have offices in Hidalgo and Cameron, but they are in Nueces County in the Corpus Christi area, up in Victoria and Webb. And so if any of you are from the South Texas areas, they've been a great partner. They've helped with a lot of initiatives, and I encourage you to reach out to them. Why they supported LEAP? Because it was a program they felt would help connect families. It involved the community. It helped with preventive care by getting, again, kids outside. The reason that my position was funded, as well as the Houston and Dallas, is some of the health issues that our youth face. And in the Valley in particular, we have the highest rates of obesity, diabetes, and chronic health issues nationwide. It is a really big problem down here. A lot to do with diet, a lot to do with not getting outside enough. And so that's something that is critical down here. And we're all working towards how do we get our kids healthy. This is one more video, guys, but this is Driscoll produced this. And this was a little bit after we had launched the program. And this kind of goes through the whole process of checking out a backpack, going through the information, and then utilizing it. And of course, they have a very professional team, which was wonderful. So I mentioned a couple of lessons learned. One, the material and size of the pack I mentioned, we started with the clear backpack. We've moved it to a fabric backpack that had a drawstring. It still wasn't quite right. I needed a little bit, it had a wider top, but I need a little bit wider bottom to fit things. So sometimes I have to stack things on top of each other. Spanish translations, I mentioned that. That's been one of the most difficult things, especially when it comes to a wildlife pack. Maybe other communities will have better luck, or maybe there's folks out there who like, oh, this is something we can help with. We can actually help develop books and guides in Spanish for the languages used here, and not just Spanish. Other communities have, other types of language speakers. I mentioned the lost backpacks. That's been kind of heart-wrenching. I think we've lost 2 or 3. Most of it happened during the initial launch. For the most part, it's great. People bring back the backpacks. But what do you do when you lose those backpacks? If I could, I'd put a tracker device on the backpacks, but I don't think we can legally. So then I'm not library setup patronage. I don't think that was mine, but changes in key staff, that's definitely been an issue. Like with PSJ, we had a librarian who was really gung-ho. She was very invested. She was right about to figure out how she was going to do this. She wanted this program in the schools, and then she left, and the other librarian just wasn't as invested into the program. And so it didn't go through. And then we've had other library, I guess a library setup patronage that, we had one library who said yes initially, but they really didn't have a youth audience. And so they really struggled getting the backpacks out. So you really do need to have a library that has a really developed children's program or children's librarian. Hi, Christine. And so when you have that, then you have that natural flow, because even though it's a family backpack, most of the backpacks live in the children library sections. And so that's where it works really well. Circulation issues, that really depends on the library, but some libraries have found it depends on their policies. Some libraries have policy where they do automatic renewal, so sometimes a family will take it a long time. Others, they have, you have to bring it back in 2 weeks. It just depends on libraries. So you do have to work with the different libraries and their library the policies, and everybody's a little bit different. Funding for additional packs, we added new packs, and I still have requests for additional packs. So we're going to have to figure out how do we continue to fundraise as more libraries want to be added on or backpacks go missing. We do have some money from Driscoll for replacement. So I have extra replacements, and I've given libraries extra replacements of like the pens and the pencils and some little things, the journals. But when it comes to the equipment, we have some money for that, but when it comes to a whole backpack that needs replaced, we don't really have that. Or when it comes for, again, somebody wants an additional backpack or another library wants to be added on, how do we fundraise? So that's challenging as well. How do we continue it on? And it does take, and this is probably because I'm a little anal myself, and every item in those backpacks were labeled, everything from like the little magnifier glasses, every single item's labeled. And everything is waterproof. So every sheet of paper was laminated. So it does take a while to order all the supplies, to search for all the supplies first that apply. And I do have a list, and I'm happy to share it, but to search for all of that, to purchase all of that, then to put it all together. So having a volunteer day was really helpful when I did it initially. I didn't do it for the second run because I thought, oh, I have 20 backpacks, not a problem, I can do it. It took me way too long. I'm talking about, because I had to do it in little bits and pieces over, and basically I was months late getting the backpacks out. So just know that if you're going to do this, it doesn't seem like it's that much, but when you're putting it all together, it takes a lot of time. So if you have a staff that can help or volunteers can help, that's very helpful. And I don't want to run out of too much time. So extensions. So part of the LEAP backpack, every library, in fact, the new libraries that we've just set on, we're going to be doing a launch this winter, but every library started with a launch, and it was a community day where we invited several organizations. So we would have like 10 to 15 organizations, like in a community fair. Driscoll came out and, talked about the program. We would do a presentation on the LEAP backpacks and what they were, as well as thank yous. And then, there was a presentation sometimes by community group, but mostly was these community fairs and the libraries really got into it. They brought one library brought in their like a junior miss, the queen and the king of their court. Another librarian produced like these little 3D frogs as giveaways to the first backpacks that were lent out. Another one, almost all of them provided food. So it's like a big community celebration that we put together, and those are really important. We also, again, I mentioned over the summer, we created these programming. So we would do different themes. We'd ask the libraries what date and what kind of programs, and then Driscoll and I would coordinate the program, and then we would give our presentations both from TCiNN and Driscoll. And that was about like an hour and a half for the local families. For our area, most of those were young kids, elementary and toddlers. So, just keep in mind who the patrons are. We also are working on, as I mentioned, birding clubs, which I'll go into in a minute. Meet at library to park programs. That's another initiative. And walk with the doc. It's been explored. We're not really chasing that down right now because we have a lot of other things, but those are definitely programs that you could marry into this. But again, we've mentioned outdoor spaces. Some of our libraries are now working on creating these outdoor spaces as part of this nature library initiative. And they want pollinator gardens and wildlife gardens and bird feeders because they want their patrons to look at birds while they're there. And they also work on reading nooks in other areas. And one of the things that I'll be doing is hopefully, but I don't know about before the end of the year, but before spring, is creating this how-to guide, best practices, and have shared files for anybody who is interested, who's part of the TCiNN community, who's interested in developing a nature library program in their own community. Kids Birding Club, I just want to mention that's one thing that's evolved out of this, is there's been an interest in creating birding clubs at the libraries. So I put a proposal together. We put in for funding. I'm not sure if we'll get it, but that's the next iteration of this. We actually have a name. It's called Outdoors with Libraries, these birding clubs, nature clubs that we'll have. The one that we're trying to develop is meet at the libraries twice a month, with the field trip once a month, developing these skills so that the kids can actually compete in the Great Texas Birding Classic at the end of the year, having it open for families, because that's a lot of how our local area likes to recreate, is with their families. And then having equipment for the library, so binoculars and bird guides and storybooks and equipment. We also, if we can, and one of the things we're fundraising for as well, is to pay stipend for the bird club leader and for the guides, because we don't want to overburden the library staff. We already do a ton of things as it is. So wherever we can bring in resources that make it easy for the libraries to have these programs and host these programs, that's what we're looking for. So that's one that we're working on now. City Library, we're exploring that idea with FAR. It's something we proposed to all the libraries. Almost all the libraries are interested. It does take a lot of work, because not only is it about purchasing the seed and putting it all together and doing the initial setup, there's a maintenance involved. And so you really do need to develop a volunteer corps who help, pull out the bad seed packets, put in new seeds. So if you have a group of master naturalists or master gardeners or other volunteers, you have a good library volunteer corps, this is one that you could do together. And it doesn't have to be just at libraries. It can be at community centers, at Parks and Rec. But the idea is that families can go and borrow, but really take a seed packet for free. And you can do native plants. You can do urban, herbs and vegetable gardening. There are lots of wonderful seed libraries around the country. Again, some here in the state of Texas. We don't have any in the Valley, and that's something that we're looking into starting. Nature book nooks, this is just some examples. It's just creating, some of that feeling of nature within your libraries. Our libraries down here are great about, decorating their libraries in the children's area, and they already make it really friendly for wildlife. And so, they're collecting books and promoting these nature elements in their own library. So that's just something that children librarian especially, they can do. And then one of our libraries, actually several libraries are doing this, but one in particular, Dr. Hector P. Garcia Memorial Library, one of the best partners we have. She has taken this outdoor area. She was inspired through all this work we've been doing together. And she's created an outdoor reading nook. And then her plan is to create where they're going to have more interactive outdoor play equipment like musical features and outdoor kitchen. So she's looking at these outdoor spaces. We also have several other libraries that are in process or also planning to do this in the future. So that's really exciting to see them look at their outdoor spaces with this light of engaging kids out and families outside in nature. And then lastly, this is around the nation. We do have these, but they're not specifically with our libraries. They tend to be with our actual cities. We have some partnership organizations that bring Story Walk to life. Also, our nature centers like Edinburgh World Birding Center will do Story Walk as well. If you're not familiar, again, Texas Children in Nature Network has some great resources, and we have some people within the network who actually do this really well, especially out of Dallas and the Arboretum. So if you're not doing this in community already, basically what it is that you take books and you, depending on what licenses you have, you can either blow them up or you can take pages out of a book and then you can put them along a trail. And then as people are exploring your gardens or the outdoor area or the park, they read along the trail. And so these are really popular down here. And it's something hopefully other cities and counties are doing as well. And then hopefully I talked longer than expected, but that's normal for me. We're on social media. If you don't know a lot about Texas Children Nature Network, you can find us all over social media. You can find videos like this on the website. There's a lot of great videos by a lot of great speakers. So I encourage you to go visit. And then if you have any questions beyond this presentation, I have Sarah Coles. She's our director. Her information's there. And then my email as well. I'd be happy to talk to you guys if you're interested in learning more. And that should be all of it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Marisa. We do have a couple of questions for you before we end at 3.
Sorry, guys.
No, that was great. That was so informative. Lots of great work and just so innovative, interactive, engaging. All right, so we have a question from Darshell. Are we able to choose certain backpacks for the program in our area? For instance, in our area, gardening and cooking would be more popular.
Yeah, so I've developed the backpacks. The themes that I developed were for this region, for things, again, I came from a nature center background, so I had a little bit of a background and then I pulled from our different resources. But in Tarrant County, she's taken the backpack themes and she's modified them for her region. So Dallas and Houston are modifying their backpacks and they're including, like, they have a wetland backpack that goes along with their bayous. And so, and they've changed the names and they've changed some of the resources. So I would definitely, if you're looking at nature backpack program, you could, look at what I've built for ours and see what applies and what doesn't apply. Just switch it out for what works for you. If you are not a nature entity, I would encourage you to reach out to your nature entities who are really familiar with what works in your community and utilize those resources. The state parks, the nature centers, etc.
Great, thank you. The next, it's a question and sort of a comment combined from Ashley De Leon. Has anyone considered coordinating with public transport for free transportation or free transport pass to their nearest park in place of the state park pass? There are families who may not have access to their own transportation, like to get to a state park. So
that's been a discussion. We haven't gotten very far on that down here in the valley, but that is actually something that exists around. There's definitely those partnerships around the country. So if you're looking at doing something in your area, there are examples of that available. I think in California in particular, maybe Berkeley, if I remember correctly, they do have like a free bus system. So they've worked with their transit. We just don't have that. We have a transit system, but it doesn't really travel to our parks, and it would take a lot of work to get there. But it's something we're very aware of down here. Transportation is definitely an issue.
Yeah, everywhere. Another question from Ashley asking about, is there a vendor you'd recommend for story walk signage and frames?
Offhand, no, but Cheryl
Potemkin
is a great resource, and so I would recommend reaching out to her. She is with the Dallas, the Arboretum in Dallas.
Actually, it's the Fort Worth Botanic Garden.
Sorry.
Yeah. And she actually did a story walk webinar for us. If you look in our archives on the YouTube channel, and I'll try to remember, help me remember, Marisa, in the follow-up email, I can put that as a resource, the link to that story walk webinar. And Cheryl's always open to giving ideas and recommendations and talking about story walks.
Yeah, she has a lot of good recommendations regarding that.
And then it looks like Sarah Joes gave a recommendation for some signage in the chat. So you can save the chat. And then Anne Marie asks, could you provide what backpack you found to work well? Sounds like you might still be looking, but
Yeah, I mean and Sarah Coles has a specific vendor that we use, our director. I think it's called Eco Imprint. And so I looked through all their backpacks. I actually ordered 6 different backpacks to try out. And the one that I landed on that I thought was wide enough, it just turned out not to be, was this black it's a drawstring backpack that's really tall. I would recommend, if you're going to do something like we do, it needs to be like a 7-8 inch bottom wide, because that way you can stack everything. And honestly, I really was trying to get stronger clear backpacks. My kids have to use clear backpacks, and they do make a stronger clear backpack. The only issue with them is that they do tend to like get a little melty in the sun a bit. Like, I mean, they kind of like wrinkle up a bit, but it's so much easier to care for the resources, because when you're putting them in, you can see where they bend. So you can put them in, you can see it a little bit more carefully. I really like the clear, but if you can't, the one we have, we actually took it to libraries and had them vote on it. And that's the one everybody liked, because it was just much more comfortable to wear.
great. And some folks are giving their own recommendations about story walks in the chat. So please check that out. Then there's a good question from Talit. Great work. Could you talk a bit more about how often the backpacks are being checked out and whether that met your expectations?
So there's been a little bit of snafu we discovered in some of the libraries. So we are still, I can't give you a definitive answer. We had one library in particular that was like beating everyone else, but it looks like some of the backpacks that are checked out at that library, another library, for whatever reason, when one goes in, it doubles up. So I've got to clarify that. But in general, yes, it's the backpacks are moving. I cannot give you specifically how many, but because we need to clarify that, but they are moving, and we saw more use in the summer than we did in the fall and winter, mostly because I think families got busy, but it was unfortunate because that's the best time to go gardening. And so a lot of it has to do with promotion. So whenever we promoted the backpacks, they all went out. Whenever we had the launches, they all went out. Some sites were really good. Particularly a couple of sites were really good about pushing them out. Some of the smaller libraries that don't have a lot of patrons, it's just a few. So yes, they're moving in those libraries that really push them and have them as part of their children's library, and the ones that have a lot of kids come through.
Well, and the follow-up to that from Ashley was, she was asking because her local library was interested in collaborating, but their staff turnover made it difficult to keep the planning phase going, which you alluded to and discussed in your presentation. And there is a question from Bobby. So if we wanted to present this to our local libraries, how would we start? Then if they were interested, do we order them from you or where? So we probably need to clarify this point, Marisa.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how Sarah, I can share the documents and the files. I cannot create them for other libraries. It will take, unless Sarah has another plan, is hiring somebody to do them. It will take people in that community finding the funding, ordering the supplies, putting them together. There isn't a place for this particular type of backpack that we're doing to buy them. Now there are like kits that you can buy. You can spend a lot of money, doing stuff like that. But the way we've done it, you have to build them, and you need to build them with your community. As far as how you present to the library, I will, in the Google file, I'll share like the initial presentation of like what a Nature Smart library is. And that's how I did it. I don't know if it'll work for everybody, but I just kind of said, hey, these are some ideas. Which ideas are you interested in? And the backpacks and the seed libraries are the two they're interested in. And then we pursued them together. So I basically had a meeting and I invited everybody who was interested to come together, and I had one particular agenda item, like, you know, okay, today we're going to identify what themes we want. And then after we identify themes, we started like, well, like, how do you want the policy to be? And so we just, you know, we just went through different bullet points, and in between I was developing, they chose a theme, but I kind of put together the list of what would be in that backpack. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not an overnight thing. And unfortunately, I don't know a vendor who like has a kit ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. And, you know, yeah, we can definitely provide support and like the how to get it started, but yeah, it would be kind of a self-initiated, community-based funded program in other areas outside of where the program has already been established, like in the Rio Grande Valley and Dallas-Fort Worth and the Houston area. So not sure where you are, Bobby, but if you're in any of those metro areas, we're happy to connect you with the other health and nature liaisons working on this program.
So I see this question about doesn't it come from LEAP? We created the LEAP and the LEAP logo is something we created locally as part of this process. We hired a graphic designer who came up with the logo. Again, our partner came up with the name. We were workshopping a name. So LEAP has become a Texas Children Nature Network program. If you're part of the network and you want to develop a LEAP pack, you will be provided with I'm assuming, you have to ask Sarah, but I'm assuming you're provided with the LEAP logo, and then you can utilize that, and you can utilize the resources, but you have to order the pack. You'll have to get them, stitched and everything else. Unless Sarah has another plan or she's fundraising for something different, that's the only way I know of to do it now.
Right. Great. Well, we are over time. So we appreciate everyone's active participation and all the lovely comments. Marisa, we thank you so much for this presentation. It was very interesting and informative. And like I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of folks were interested in this program because it's such a natural fit with our local libraries and our parks, et cetera. So you all have a great afternoon. I will be in touch with a follow-up email with the resources, the recording, and other information to help you all in this LEAP backpack program if you're interested in going forward. So everyone have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you.